Well, Happy New Year's, gentlemen.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, if 2021 was the year of the MCU, it appears that 2022 is going to be the year of Star Wars.
It's very exciting, but I'm just as excited about the Batman, the Flash, and even Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And I'm surprisingly excited about season 2 of Superman and Lois.
Very nice.
You're actually excited about Aquaman as well?
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
Interesting. Well, I mean, the MCU is not going anywhere, though. I mean, we got Moon Knight coming, Doctor Strange 2, She-Hulk, Secret Invasion, Thor: Love and Thunder, Ms. Marvel, Black Panther 2, and Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. That's also coming.
Good thing those were all written on your show notes, right?
Yes, because I definitely did not remember all of that.
It sounds like we're going to have a lot to talk about over the next 12 months. Why don't we just get this started? This is Tatooine Sons.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the Porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that Porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys recorded an awesome podcast called Tatooine Sons. Everybody was lit.
Before we actually get the PS5 that you quote unquote got for Christmas.
Don't remind me.
Poor Nate. He's working so hard.
I'm not sure. Thursday's looking like a possibility right now, so keeping an eye on that.
All right.
That's really about it.
Well, let's hope so. Welcome to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast, the only fan podcast to name a canon Star Wars creature and to be endorsed by the incomparable Ryan Johnson. Is Knives Out 2 coming out this year?
I'm not sure.
I'd like that to happen. We believe that pop culture is the mythology of our generation, that there is a story, it is written on our souls, and that these myths speak to that story. And that is why we are talking about Chapter 1 of the Book of Boba Fett, and then giving you a reason to binge watch Superman and Lois over the next week.
Of course.
And reacting to episodes 1 through 4 of Season 4 of Cobra Kai. I am David. I am the dad.
Hey, Dad.
Hi, Dad.
Hi, I am honored to be joined every week by my two amazing sons. BB Nate, what are you talking about?
Well, Superman and Lois is easily the best DC CW show so far, and I will tell you why you should binge it.
Very nice. I liked it. Samuel, what do you got going? Oh, I already know.
Yeah.
Boba Fett.
Right.
Yeah.
Star Wars finally gave Boba fans what they've been wanting for over 40 years this last week. I mean, not me, because I haven't been around for 40 years, but all Boba
But you
fans.
lived in an RV for a year, and that's like dog years.
Right. So basically, it's like
So
4
you're like
years.
27 now.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
And what about you, Dad?
Oh, well. There's someone in Cobra Kai that might not be as evil as we've been led to believe.
Whoa.
So we'll talk about that. This episode is sponsored by cufflinks.com. Thank you guys so much for sponsoring the show. They have over 3,000 items on their website from Star Wars, Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, NFL, NCAA, Major League Baseball, NBA, everything else you can think of. They got some cool Superman cufflinks on there. I saw them. Oh, cool. They were awesome. We're very honored to be sponsored by this amazing company. Thank you guys so much for doing that. If you're a first-time listener to this show, welcome. We are so glad that you are here. Please follow the show on your podcast app that you are listening to it on right now. If you are a returning listener, thank you again for coming back and subjecting yourselves to this torture for another week. And if you're really a glutton for punishment, then go ahead and subscribe yourself with this. I'm excited about Friday's interview episode. It's going to be with Brian Godawa. You've read some of his stuff, Noah Primeval, and some of that kind of crazy stuff that he's written. He's written some word fiction stuff and some other stuff. He's actually a screenwriter, and he's going to talk about why worldview matters in storytelling. It's going to be a lot of fun. So why don't we kind of get into the show, stop talking about what we're going to talk about.
And talk about what we're going to talk about?
Yeah, something like that. Go for it, Sam.
Yeah, well, the first episode of the Book of Boba Fett is out, and it's a bit of a mixed bag of emotions from fans right now, but we'll talk about the big moments from the episode and our thoughts on it overall. That's up next.
Be on your guard. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world.
All right, then, keep your secrets.
You're coming to us is as the footsteps of doom.
There are many magic rings in this world, Bilbo Baggins, and none of them should be used lightly.
So, in Parks and Rec, Patton Oswalt is trying to, or at least his character is trying to explain his idea for the new Star Wars movie, which at the time was Force Awakens.
Oh, yeah.
And he decided that it was going to begin with Boba Fett and his hand reaching out of the sand and grabbing the edge and crawling himself out of the Sarlacc pit. And in the background is the wreckage of Jabba's sailboat and everything. It is an exact copy.
Do you
of
think
what
they
happened.
did that on purpose? When they made this? Because Patton Oswalt is a huge Star Wars
It would
fan.
not surprise me. It was hilarious. I was dying when I watched the scene, and then when it happened, I was so happy.
You knew as soon as you saw the show last Wednesday.
And then people started to like compare it in like clips, and I'm like,
very
I
cool.
love it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, well, before we get any further, let's get y'all's rating on a scale of 1 to 10 desert water pods.
Who's going to go first?
Nate,
I'll
go
go
first.
BB Nate?
I don't know. I'll give it a 6.5. Ooh. It wasn't bad. I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying kind of wanted a bit more. I mean, I understand that we're getting another episode. I understand we have a lot more episodes to get. I wanted a bit more from this episode. It's sometimes when you finish episodes like this, the pilot, you have a clear sense of where the series is going to go, how it's going to feel. At the end of this, I kind of just felt like, okay, well, what are we doing here? So...
I'm going to go ahead and give it a 6 with it. And that doesn't mean I think it's a bad episode or it's going to be a bad series. The reason I give it a 6 is because it only put the players on the chessboard. It didn't do anything with them with this. In fact, we don't even know who all the players are on the chessboard. And so what I think this show premiere suffered from that the other, like the Mandalorian, was a little different with it. They only released one episode with Mandalorian both times, didn't they?
Yes.
Right.
That's interesting. Okay. What they did with Marvel, though, was these were shorter episodes, and then they realized that the first episode just set a few things up, and they needed the second episode in order to hook everybody on the story. And they did that with just about all of the Marvel stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I think pretty much every show.
They didn't do that with this, and I think this show suffered just a little bit because of it. I'm very excited to see what's coming in the next episode.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be what it's all about. So,
yeah, I'm going to give it a 7.5. And that's
Boba Fett.
And I'm a Boba Fett fan, so that's pretty low, all things considered. But I agree. There could have been a lot more done with this episode, and there just wasn't. And it's a 7-episode season, right? So they could have released 2 and still had it run for 6 weeks, like Marvel or whatever. So it is confusing as to why they chose to just put this one episode out there. But we'll talk on that more later. But let's talk about how we actually finally got some backstory for Boba Fett as to what happened after Return of the Jedi. In fact, that was like really the main point of this episode, at least for me, was his backstory. He was sitting there. He's in the bacta tank because he's obviously been through a lot. And so he has these nightmares and these dreams while he's in it. And it's flashbacks. We see him having flashbacks to Camino and then his dad dying. And then we see him get knocked into the Sarlacc pit. And then we actually get our first time seeing him crawl out. He's in the Sarlacc pit and he's trying to escape. So he takes the stormtrooper's oxygen, stuffs it in there. He crawls out. It was the coolest scene for Boba Fett
it was
fans
awesome.
ever. And it was, like Nathan said, it mirrored perfectly what Patton Oswalt said in Parks and Rec. So they finally gave us Boba fans what we've been wanting, which is to see Boba Fett crawl his way out of the Sarlacc pit. But it really didn't go so well for him at that point because
He got out. That's about it.
He gets out,
Yep.
and then he's laying there in the desert because he's exhausted. Jawas come. They strip him of his dad's armor. He's left for dead. Sand people come, and they're just dragging him through the desert like a slave. And then, the rest of the episode's him trying to survive. And eventually he comes across this... I don't even think the creature has a name at this point, but it's that giant, like, six-legged thing, and he kills it, mirroring Jabba.
But wasn't that with the Tusken Raiders when he's captured by the Tusken Raiders that happens?
Right.
Oh, okay,
Yeah. He's with that little kid, Tusken Raider, and they're out in the desert, and he comes across the thing. He kills it, mirroring how Jabba was killed, and it looks like the Tusken Raiders are kind of accepting him at this point. But that's about all the backstory we got in terms of that. But from what we've seen so far of the backstory, what do you guys think? You excited to see more?
I honestly think that it's the best part of the show right now. Just exciting to see more of Boba Fett and exciting to see how he survived, what happened to him, what happened before we get to see him in Mandalorian season 2. And I'm really excited to see them develop that more and develop how he came up with the leading and ruling with respect and not fear part, which we will see with the Tusken Raiders. We did see it towards the end of this episode. And so I'm excited to see how they develop that more.
Yeah, I liked the idea that they're going to be using the Bacta. They're going to be putting him in Bacta, and that is when he's going to like have these Bacta dreams.
Right.
And then we're going to see these flashbacks. And so I think that we're going to get more. It was really important for them to show how his armor was removed because this ties to Cobb Vanth
Right.
in the Aftermath trilogy and how Cobb Vanth gets the armor from Jawas. And so it was important for that to happen. So yeah, I think that they handled it really cool. So.
And Dad, you mentioned like pretty early after we watched this episode that you appreciated how they handled the Sarlacc pit scene. Explain why you thought that.
Yeah, I really like that. And the reason that I liked it was because I was afraid they were going to show Tusken Raiders or they were going to show somebody coming in and rescuing him out of the Sarlacc pit, which then puts him in a passive role in his survival. I liked the fact that we actually saw him in the Sarlacc. We see this other stormtrooper being digested that's dead in there. We see the terror and we kind of feel the terror. Mom was kind of like, what in the world is this that we're seeing? And him having to use his ingenuity, use his creativity in order to survive while he's in the Sarlacc. And then when he punches the hole through the stomach lining and then just turns on the flamethrower and lights it all up and cooks the Sarlacc from the inside out in order to survive. I'm like, okay, that's Boba Fett. I can buy into who this character is. So I really liked that.
They handled the character well.
They really did.
I was a little nervous that they would make him seem kind of weak or wimpy in this, and they didn't with the Sarlacc. Now, when you get later on, which we'll talk about, that's a little different, but from what we've seen, it's not exactly a smooth transition to him becoming this crime lord. I mean, he got in there pretty easy. He just waltzed in there, shot Bib, and then just sat the
that's
throne.
what we saw already, right?
But the episode opens up with him like taking these tributes from different members of the society or whatever. They're paying him.
Mos Espa.
Right, Mos Espa.
Other crime lords and crime families and things.
And then this attaché of the mayor comes in, and that was a bit of an interesting exchange. What were y'all's thoughts with that whole discussion?
I thought it was very interesting. It showed how the mayor feels like he can use Boba Fett. It's for the first time he can use a crime lord.
Yeah, Boba owes him.
Exactly. It feels like that because he knew that Boba is going to lead differently with just how it worked with Bib, and it wasn't that Jabba died and then Bib took it up. Bobo came in and killed him. So it's already a different transition already. So I feel like he saw that and he's like, okay, I'm going to try to intimidate him. I'm going to make him give me a tribute.
Right.
I'm not going to give you a tribute. And see what happens, see what Boba does. I think it was just a chess move. And see
Nate, I think you give him a little bit too much respect in what the mayor was thinking about Boba Fett. I think that he has zero confidence that Boba Fett has any authority whatsoever. And so his mindset was, who does this dude think he is, coming in here right now, exacting tribute from me? I am the mayor of Mos Espa, and so I'm gonna function. I'm gonna present myself like with dignity. You know, he's sending his attaché to go do this and all this, and he's saying all the right words. But in the end, he's going to be like, no, you are going to pay tribute to him with this. I think that, and I love the idea of this isn't going to be a smooth transition. No, kind of at first I was wondering, is he going to just jump in there? And now he's suddenly the boss of all the different crime families in this thing. And now we've got to bring in the villain. That's not what's happening at all in this. I really like it.
Yeah. And so then he goes out and he's kind of walking the streets of Mos Espa, not on I don't know, remember what they called it, but he's not being paraded around the streets. He's walking around just like everybody else to show he's kind of like, for a crime boss, he's pretty down to earth, like literally. But he goes to this casino, cantina, and we see Figrin, Dan, and Max Rebo playing together. They've joined in bands now and are playing.
It's awesome.
Which was fun. And that casino was more than willing to pay tribute to him. They left him his helmet full of cash. But he's walking back through the streets and they get ambushed by these guys with shields and vibro axes or whatever. And there's this big fight that ensues. And that's what I was going back to earlier when I was worried that they were going to make Boba wimpy. He held his own for a good bit there, but eventually it got to him. And while that is almost disappointing, it makes sense with how they showed the backstory. I mean, he was messed up after the Sarlacc pit.
I mean, it makes sense.
Right. And so he's not in the shape that he was before. But even despite all that, he held his own overall. What did y'all think about the fight itself? And who do you think that these people are sent from?
Okay, well, I just want to stop and talk about the Gamorrean guards. Because we got to see the Gamorrean guards fight. They're not these weird big costumes that are hard to maneuver with.
Right, yeah.
They're actually intimidating in this. They can hold their own. Yeah. They're fighting. It's so much fun to see the Gamorrean guards function like the Gamorrean guards, all right? Yeah. Can I continue?
Yeah.
Or am I welcome? Am I welcome to continue to answer the next part of the question?
Yes. I already know what you're going to say. So
those henchmen that tried to kill him, that's Crimson Dawn.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Kira sent them. They're Crimson Dawn. She's taking over Mos Espa. I think the mayor of Mos Espa is already in league with her about it. So he doesn't have any respect for Boba Fett. I think that this is already happening, and Boba Fett is out of the picture so much he doesn't know this yet. And so he's coming in here and he needs to find out who sent these henchmen. We're going to find out in this next episode that it's Kira from Crimson Dawn.
I wouldn't say it's exactly Kira. I don't think it's Kira directly who sent them, because we do see in TV spots and in trailers that we, especially recently with the ones that are being shown during football games and the bowl games, we do see Boba and Fennec with the henchmen bringing it into the place where I can assume the mayor is. We see the mayor. We see him bringing it to the mayor. So it could, again, be Crimson Dawn forcing the mayor to send the henchman to Boba Fett, but not directly Kira.
Yeah, we're gonna get we're gonna get Kira soon, though.
Is the Ithorian the mayor?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think that's who it is. Yeah, I think y'all are right. But I don't. Yeah, I think you're right, Nate. It's not Kira herself. It's some lackey through another lackey sending, because they're not going to do it himself. Although Boba is doing things differently than that. He's the one. Fennec was like, "You could have sent me to do this. Why are you going out here?" Because he wants to be with the people, which is different than anybody else. So I thought that was interesting, but. We had talked about in our review episode before the series started, there was a comment from the director who said
Robert Rodriguez.
He said that everything we'd seen in the trailers and stuff was from the first half of the first episode. 5 minutes into the episode, I could have told you that was a complete lie.
Oh, yeah.
Or wasn't true. Was he lying? Why did he say what he said there?
I honestly think he puts episode 1 and 2 together as the first episode. I really do. I think that in his mind, he planned it like that. And in his mind, I'm sure with like you said, Sammy, the 7 episodes, it would still work with the 6 week.
Right.
I feel like Disney Plus just wanted to bring it out to 7 weeks, but he wanted the first 2 episodes to be released the same week. So I honestly do think he planned on episode 1 and 2 being from the same point. That's just personally what I think, and that could play into him saying there was a twist.
So basically, what you're saying, BB Nate, is that it was true from a certain point of view.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll
go with that.
Yeah.
You never know what a director is, why he says what he says.
Exactly.
I don't think that there was anything intended to be, nefarious or wrong or trying to mislead people. I think he believed what he said when he said it.
Yeah, exactly.
He probably got his hand slapped about that afterwards because people that are in the editing side and in the production final episode side are sitting there going, well, that's actually not going to be 100% true. And they probably had to deal with it. But the reality is it really doesn't matter because we still didn't get that big spoiler. That's the only thing that was disappointing in this. We didn't get that big spoiler that those comments made you believe you were going
exactly.
to get. So,
right. I mean, we've been kind of accustomed to seeing that with The Mandalorian.
Yeah, we talked about it in the last episode. We didn't get our Baby Yoda moment. We thought we were going to get it in this, which is probably why you're giving it a 6.5 and I'm getting it a 6. If they get that big moment, if you secure a walk across the screen or Han Solo land the Millennium Falcon or something crazy like that happen,
it's a blow up.
Then you're at a 10 and it's the same episode.
Oh, if we get Alden back as Solo,
we're not. It's Harrison Ford that's being
that's right.
giant freaking robot.
So sorry. Yeah. I'm so sorry. I should.
So y'all don't think they were holding back on this first episode? Y'all think that this was supposed to be a tandem release, and they feels
like that was what they were supposed to do.
Exactly. I agree.
Well, I think it's safe to say, though, that something big is going to come for the series, or at least we hope. It will be hopefully it'll be in tomorrow's episode. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hopefully we see something big. But so far, the Book of Boba Fett it's an exciting show, I think. Yeah. It handles the character well. And, you just got to be sure to watch this next episode when it drops tomorrow.
Absolutely. Good job, Sam.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You excited about this series still?
I'm excited.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be great.
I think there's still big things.
I'm not disappointed.
No, not at all.
Giving it a 6 doesn't make me disappointed.
No, exactly not.
It's just me being honest about what this episode did.
Exactly.
If we get through the series and nothing happens, then
if this is the same thing for another 6 episodes, then I'm disappointed with it. But I'm not worried about that. All right. This week is a masterclass, by the way, on how to write clickbait headlines from Giant Freaking Robot, Inside the Magic, and a new site that we've never shared before. And that's up next on Bad News.
This is not going to go the way you think.
I'm not sure you noticed, but cufflinks are becoming a really big deal in pop culture right now.
Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, Kate Bishop took out the Kingpin using one of his cufflinks.
Okay.
And BB Nate, you can probably tell of another place where cufflinks are showing up more and more. It's really interesting.
I can. Thomas Wayne's cufflinks seem like they're going to play a big part in the Batman.
Maybe this is just like the law of attraction, and we're like...
Well, I'm not saying that all these cufflinks are starting to show up because we've been talking about cufflinks.com for the past few months, but I'm also not saying that that's not why either. I mean, this is why Benedict Cumberbatch coming out at the red carpet.
Oh, it's because of our cufflinks.
Of our cufflinks, it's a ton of stuff, yeah.
Well, they do have over 3,000 items, though, right, on cufflinks.com. So if you want to get in on the cufflink craze before
the ground floor,
right? If you want to be a part of the trend before it really gets big, go to cufflinks.com. They got 3,000 items, and then not just cufflinks, ties, tie bars, socks, money clips. If you want to start a trend of money clips,
everything you need to be a sharp dressed fan.
Absolutely,
clips, yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so use the code Tatooine15 at checkout to receive 15% off everything on the site with no minimum order required.
Never has a trend been easier to get it on.
That's right. So head on over to cufflinks.com today. And again, remember to use the code that BB Nate talked about, Tatooine15 at the checkout.
Well, you want the bad news or the really bad news?
All right. Norman Reedus has signed to play the Ghost Rider.
Really?
Yeah. This is a headline from Giant Freaking Robot. It feels more to me like an educated guess. If you're not familiar with Norman Reedus, he's one of the stars of The Walking Dead. He's also a major fan of Marvel's Ghost Rider. He's gone on record numerous times saying that he'd love to play this character. And then he's got a lot of people in his camp, that directors and other people that are pushing for this to happen. So it's definitely a possibility. But then there are times like this that I wonder whether Robot just throws out some of these exclusives from their trusted and proven sources, right? That have a really strong chance of actually happening so that they can later go out and put it on their scoops list that they've gotten these things right. Until somebody else confirms this, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 50-50 shot and say clickbait level of 5.
Alrighty. I wouldn't mind it, though.
Fair enough.
But y'all ready for this? Marvel announces that the X-Men and the Avengers will battle in 2020.
No way.
I'm kind of surprised this hasn't been all over the news as a result.
Right, like you think people would be freaking out. But this is from Inside the Magic. They're back.
That's not a good sign.
And this is because they used a classic clickbait tactic in this article. The article is 100% accurate. But the featured image on the article and the one that actually shows up when you share it on social media is horribly misleading. The article reveals some of the amazing battles that could potentially take place in the Judgment Day event in Marvel Comics in 2022.
Okay.
But the image shares the cinematic versions of the characters being discussed. So unsuspecting fans seeing this headline are likely to assume that the X-Men and the Avengers will be having an epic battle on screen, when in reality, that battle would be happening in the comics. So this one gets a clickbait level of 8.
Alrighty.
All right. BB Nate.
The Batman to continue without Robert Pattinson as Batman.
Are you okay?
I'm really disappointed.
Do I need
about
to get
this.
Mom? Is you crying about this?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Decoding is making its first appearance in bad news, but if this is any indication of what they normally put out, it will not be their last. This article sources the infamous tabloid The Sun and states that Robert Pattinson might not come back for any sequels to the Batman because Matt Reeves wants to put out a perfect movie and it's been hard to shoot. This is tapping into the...
How absurd.
Wow.
It is
He wants to put out a good movie.
What?
Unheard of.
They just see the Marvel movies and assume that...
That's just not nice.
Oh, that was actually pretty good.
This is tapping into the multiple unconfirmed rumors of problems between Pattinson and Reeves, but even the article itself comes out and says it's nothing more than speculation. It would be nice if the headline read even remotely that way. It gets a clickbait level of 9.
9. Wow.
Yeesh.
So much for that. All right. I guess it's time to move on to the next segment. It's my segment.
Yes, it is your segment.
Well, then we should do this. While we prefer the weekly release schedules we're used to with Star Wars and MCU and all that kind of stuff on Disney Plus, there's something fun about binging a whole series in a weekend.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
when does Stranger Things come out?
Sometime this year.
Oh, okay.
2022.
All right.
Unfortunately, we didn't have any time to do that this week, so we only got to watch half of Cobra Kai. But there's a lot of things to speculate about in the first half of Cobra Kai season 4, so we're going to do that, including and probably especially the arrival of Terry Silver.
Bulky religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
If you live long enough, you see the same eyes in different people.
Have you guys even seen anything other than the original Karate Kid movie?
I think I've only seen the first one.
Only seen the first one.
Yeah.
And have you seen it like multiple times?
Oh, yeah.
I've seen the first one a few times.
So Terry Silver means nothing to you guys at all.
No.
He's a cool character, though.
He's like a bad dude in that Karate Kid.
Really?
Thing. Yeah. All right.
Seems to be okay now.
We'll talk about that in a second. Before we get into it, I want to get your guys' ratings of the first half of season 4 of Cobra Kai on a scale of 1 to 10 cringy moments. Sam, you go first. Rating and reason.
Okay. I'll give it an 8. It's Cobra Kai. I feel like it kind of went back to its roots of the first season or so. It's got the cheesy moments. It's funny. It's got the rivalry between Johnny and LaRusso. I'm forgetting his first name. Daniel. I was so it's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it so far.
All right. BB Nate.
Yeah,
1 to 10 cringy moments.
I'm going to give it an 8. I think I really enjoy how they're going back to not being as much of a teen drama and more of just let's get back to karate and figuring that out. It's more about the dojos and all of that. It feels like it's going back to being about Johnny and LaRusso. It feels like it's taking a step forwards than the step back it took in season 3. I'm enjoying the fights that they're having almost every episode. They're choreographed very well for this series. And it's a lot of fun to see the difference between these teaching styles of Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang and that whole dynamic between Johnny and Daniel.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm going to give it probably a 7 or an 8.
Okay.
At this point, I'm kind of waiting to see what happens in the second half of this. I kind of get tired of the fact that everything revolves around the All Valley Karate Tournament, you know?
I like it.
With it, there's a point where it's kind of like, if we just get to
this. This is a show where karate fights happen in schools on a normal basis.
That's a good point.
So
let's have some more of those in school, okay? Because this All Valley Tournament thing is starting to get a little old with me. But that's what this entire franchise is about. Every movie, every season leads to the All Valley Tournament with it. So I guess that makes perfect sense. Anyway, all right, let's continue to talk a little bit about what some of the things. Not really. I don't want to. I mean, we may get a little spoilery here, but I don't think it's going to get massively spoilery. So if you know Karate Kid and you know those original movies and you've watched anything of Cobra Kai, you're probably safe with picking up what we're talking about here. And if you don't know anything about Karate Kid, then
enjoy the conversation.
None of this will even make sense. So anyway, all right. Everyone who's followed the story before season 4 knows the idea of Johnny Lawrence and Danny LaRussa. Why do I want to call him Danny? He's never called.
I was
Danny.
wanting to call him Danny too.
Daniel
I
LaRussa.
keep thinking about Blue Bloods, probably.
I guess so.
It just works with Johnny.
Yeah, actually, I'm thinking about Danny Ocean. From Ocean's 11. So anyway,
movie.
But anyway, that's followed the story before season 4 knows that Johnny and Daniel are planning on combining their dojos, and that idea is actually kind of absurd. How are they going to be able to make this work, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely pretty rocky because they've both got a lot of animosity towards each other. There's this scene, I guess this is kind of spoilery, so if you don't want to hear this, then, plug your ears and go la la la. But there's this scene where they're both training because they're going to have a competition with each other. And it was really cool editing because they showed first Johnny and he was having flashbacks to things that happened of where Daniel has wronged him, so he's upset at Daniel, and then it goes to Daniel training and it's the exact same scenes, just his perspective, and to where it seems that Johnny is the bad guy. So it was really good editing and storytelling.
It was really effective.
It was.
So there's a lot of animosity towards each other, but they're going to have to put aside their differences and realize that there's something greater, which is what they're trying to do here. Is that Cobra Kai needs to be stopped. And while, yes, both of their teaching styles are polar opposite, I think they'll realize that when they work together, it's probably some yin-yang thing they'll bring in.
Oh, that's actually really
they might use a yin-yang concept because they're opposites, yet they balance each other out, and it'll become this perfect fighting style to beat Cobra Kai.
And a perfect style of karate and dojo to be a part.
Exactly.
Very good. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that it's been a really interesting concept between Johnny and Daniel. I really like where they're going with it. I think that seeing like the training scene or the whole episode even where they decide one day I will teach you Miyagi-Do and then you teach me Eagle Fang.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing that was really cool. And then, the whole hockey game scene. I love that. That was a lot of fun. That was fun to see Johnny do that to Daniel. But it also showed how they both now understand, at least at that point, they understood what the benefit of each style is. And then, like you said, Sammy, it could be a yin-yang thing, that combining the defense with the aggressiveness of Eagle Fang could really be beneficial to it.
That's good. One thing that's really been interesting this season, BB Nate, is seeing a few of the Cobra Kai faithfuls understand the need to take a step back instead of striking first. But one character who's really seemed to have experienced this the most and changed the most as a result of this is Hawk. What do you think about where they're taking him this season?
I like it. It's kind of going back to the roots of who his character was. Not the really aggressive character we saw in season 2 and season 3. I liking where they're taking him with being, attacked by Cobra Kai and losing the hair, which is something that was important to him, and seeing him overcome that is going to be really interesting in the later episodes. And I'm excited to see where they're going with his character. I really liked where he was in the first season. I liked who that was in that Cobra Kai. I was kind of just frustrated with him in season 2 and season 3, but I'm really liking where they're going with him in this one. So.
Awesome. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Nate. I felt like I know this was what they were trying to do with his character, but when he became Hawk, he was a jerk.
He was.
And it was frustrating because his friend, I forget the character's name, was so good to him, and he was a jerk back, and they had been best friends for years. So it was really frustrating for me when he was just being a jerk to be a jerk when that wasn't who he was. But it looks like they're going back around where he can still be this great fighter, this because he was one of the best fighters they had as Hawk. He can still be that great fighter while not being a jerk about it at the same time. I like that.
A running theme this season is seeing Miguel and Sam train under these different senseis that have these different styles. Where do you see this going in the second half of the season?
I don't know. I mean, I think that they're going to be the ones who are instrumental in convincing Johnny and Daniel to work together because they've seen both sides of it firsthand. They'll be like, look, this is what needs to happen. And since both Daniel and Johnny have love them because, Miguel's basically like a son to Johnny, they'll listen more closely to what the kids have to say. That'll probably be instrumental.
And what do you think?
I think that they're going to be the instrumental characters to show why Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang can merge and mesh very well. Sam,
so it's like Romeo and Juliet, bringing the Capulets and the Montagues together.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's West Side Story. Is somebody going to die?
Who knows?
Hey, Miguel's already got his back broken.
Now, Savannah's seen the end of it. Is she pretty devastated right now?
Well, she texted me and was like, "Oh my!" Was shocked and was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened." She didn't give me anything.
They're both going to commit suicide at the end.
Wow.
I said Miguel broke his back again. And she's dark. Like, well, no, but even if he was, I wouldn't tell you.
But no, I really think because Sam grew up with the whole Miyagi-Do style. She did take karate as a young girl, so she already knew that. And seeing the Eagle Fang, it showed her that there's a different side to karate, but she also has the Miyagi-Do set in her. So that can show why that would work. And then the same with Miguel. He was able to heal himself to the point where he could do Eagle Fang karate again, and he's seeing this defense and seeing this peace with Miyagi-Do, which will help him in the long run. I think it'll be a great way to show the yin-yang aspect of what I think they're trying to accomplish by the end of the season. So is
the new dojo going to be Cobra Miyagi Fang or Eagle Do?
I think Eagle Do works better.
I don't think it's going to be either. A big twist, again, we're talking about the All Valley Karate Tournament here. A big twist in this is that the tournament committee made a couple of major changes to the tournament. They are dividing into boys and girls categories, and then they are adding a skills competition to the tournament. Who has the advantage under this new format? Cobra Kai, Eagle Fang, or Miyagi-Do?
I think that under the skills aspect, I think that the Eagle Fang or Miyagi-Do have kind of the upper hand because of how different each one is, and the skills can be really accomplished in that area. But the whole boys girls division, Cobra Kai definitely has an upper hand on that one. Because I mean, with Miyagi-Do, they have Sam, which is great. But I mean, Cobra Kai maybe still has Tori, and she's
except Tori has been beat by Sam twice. Right. Up to this point. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it's in her favor because you can't have that happen again with it. What do you think?
Yeah, from right now, I'm still thinking that Cobra Kai's got the upper hand in pretty much everything, which is, I know that's what they're trying to do to us right now at this point in the show. But Cobra Kai's looking really strong. They've got a lot more, at least from what I can remember, they've got more female members, which gives them already an advantage in that regards. And for skills, they're all much more honed in and precise with their things. So it's tough. Also, I didn't remember that it wasn't like separated by genders before. Like I thought I'm surprised that it hasn't been like that already. Yeah. I thought that was fun.
It is different with this. There are two characters this season who I'm not sure about as far as where their stories are going to go. You got Tori, which we talked a little bit about already, and then of course Terry Silver. Tori is playing the bad guy as she always has throughout the entire series, but her backstory is now making Amanda LaRusso, Daniel's wife, in this much more sympathetic towards her. Sam and I'm not talking Sam LaRusso, Samuel the Hutt. All right. Could we see a massive flipping of sides coming before the end of the season when it comes to Tori?
I don't know. I think so. I think that's what they're setting up. We're supposed to be sympathetic of her character in the role. She's going through a lot of crap, so you can't entirely blame her for that. I hope she has a flipping of sides. I think that alone will shift the tide a lot in favor of Eagle Fang and Miyagi-Do, because she's a strong fighter. So, but it's going to take a lot, I have a feeling, to switch her mindset, because she's drank the Kool-Aid when it comes to Cobra Kai hardcore. So it's going to take a lot.
What do you think?
I do think that it'll take a lot, and I don't think that Sam's going to be helping in that situation if she can change. So I'm worried to see how that'll work. But I do think that it's showing that Tori is strong enough to be able to switch sides. I really think that is a big part of it. And it shows how Amanda was able to switch sides and how Amanda is going to be there for Tori in a lot of ways to help her through that process. And I'm excited to see where they do go with it, because I'm a sucker for redemption stories. And I think that it could be a good one for this, for this show.
That's because redemption is written on our souls.
Exactly.
The other character I'm having some reservations about in this is Terry Silver. Anyone who watched the original films, we talked about at the opening of the segment, this guy is just not a good guy. But it does seem that he's moved on with his life, and maybe even turned over a new leaf. Let's start with you, BB Nate. Is this relationship that he has with Kreese, is that going to pull him back to the dark side, do you think?
I don't think so. I haven't gotten that vibe from him quite yet, especially not in the series. I think that we see a lot of him holding Kreese back from doing things. Kreese wanted the kids to attack Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang for the whole baseball field sprinkler prank, but he's like, let's not
spoiler.
Well,
I'm just kidding. We're spoiling the whole thing.
He's like, well, let's not do that. You can still get payback, but in a different way. Wait for the All Valley. And I liked that. That was showing that he has kind of just gone to a different point. Kreese has stayed back, but it seems like Terry has grown a little bit, and I'm excited to see where they go with his character. And I have not been convinced that he's a bad guy from the beginning.
Oh, he's a bad guy. If you've watched Karate Kid,
no, from Karate Kid 3, yes, but I'm not sure if he is in this series.
He's a bad guy. Samuel, what do you think?
I think he's going to snap at some point, and that is he's going to realize his mistake, and it's going to have him have this huge 180 flip. Because right now he's still he's okay at the moment, but I think something's going to happen that's going to send him over the edge.
Okay. Well, let's have a dad moment this week.
I am your father.
Watching the first half of the season this weekend, I noticed a lot of dad moment possibilities. There's the struggle for compromise between Danny and Johnny, or Daniel and Johnny. Terry is being pulled back into a past he's moved on from. How we also see how the fear of being bullied by Kenny, a new character into this, is turning him into a bully himself. Yeah. There's a lot in this, but the one that stands out so far for me is watching Amanda realize that Tori's story is one that could have been her own. After realizing that Tori has lost her job because of their confrontation, Amanda reveals to Daniel that she made a huge mistake in her senior year of high school that could have derailed her life. And so she sees herself a little bit in Tori. And this is such an important thing for us to learn to do. It's a way for us to put ourselves in someone else's shoes. It's too easy for us to judge someone else and condemn them, but we've all got our own problems and our own past that we have to deal with, just like Amanda does with Tori in this. Jesus taught that we have to remove that massive beam from our own eye before we start pulling the splinter out of somebody else's. And I'm really curious to see how this is going to play out in the second half of the season.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I guess we just have to go there. Who's going to win the All Valley tournament? Are Danny and Johnny going to be able to finally move past their differences for the greater good of their students? And is Terry Silver really the bad guy that we think he is? We're just going to have to let you know next week. And but before we do that, we've got some movie moments this week. It's just another slow week for movie releases. January is like the graveyard.
January has always been a graveyard.
Yeah, not as slow as
now.
Not as slow as last week. We'll give you the 411 on the next on the 355. How's that?
Wow.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, it's all up next on Movie.
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge.
One new release this week. It's a lot better than last week, so that's great. But this week we have the 355. The description is, when a top secret weapon falls into mercenary hands, a wild card CIA agent joins forces with 3 international agents on a lethal mission to retrieve it while staying a step ahead of a mysterious woman who's tracking their every move.
Okay.
That's interesting.
We've seen a couple of these trailers with it.
I thought it could be like really good or really bad. So the director is Simon.
Kind of like one of the trailers
Kinberg.
is really good and one of the trailers is really bad. So anyway.
Yeah, it's like Moonfall.
Yeah.
But it is directed by Simon Kinberg. The cast is Jessica Chastain, Lupita Nyong'o. I think that's how you say it. I'm not sure. Diane Kruger and Penelope Cruz. Not terrible.
Diane Kruger was in National Treasure.
She was.
She was the blonde.
Okay.
Archivist.
Yeah.
The studio is Universal Pictures, and its MPA rating is PG-13 for sequences of strong violence, brief, strong language, and suggestive material. Now, yes or no seeing it?
I'm kind of 50-50 right now.
I wouldn't mind if I never saw it, or if I didn't get to see it.
I'm kind of the same.
It's one of those that because we have A-list, if we
it.
decide we want to go see a movie and there's nothing else playing, we'll probably go see it.
Exactly. We got kind of a new trailer this week. We got a little TV spot for Morbius, a Japanese TV
I still
spot.
need to watch it.
The Japanese spot's the best.
It was the voiceover, the dub for the Japanese was really into it. Really excited. Also, another news from Morbius, it was delayed till April 1st.
That happened while we were recording.
Yeah. I checked my phone and I saw the announcement. I guess they just changed their profile picture and cover photo on Facebook and was just April 1st. No explanation, just delayed it. But for the box office numbers, no surprise, Spider-Man No Way Home is still at the top with 52 million domestic, 600 million global, with a total of 1.3 billion globally.
That's incredible.
$1 billion.
It made the top 10 highest grossing movies this week, which is fantastic.
Of like what? Of all time? Mm-hmm. Dang.
It's
in 3 weekends.
Impressive. Yep.
That's crazy.
Sing 2 took the second spot with 19 million domestically, 89 million globally, with 144 million globally over its release so far. And The King's Man with 4.5 million domestic, 19.5 globally, and then 47 million globally for its whole release. So it's not doing great. They're not going to be able to make up their budget, and this is probably going to be considered a flop. But
yeah, I mean, if you can't make up the money that it cost you to make the movie,
and then make a profit,
jeez. All right. Well, we're just going to let you keep going.
Keep going. I got another one of these weeks. This week, I'm going to try to convince Sam and all of you why you should watch Superman and Lois. So let's just get to it.
I'm already convinced.
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Yeah, I can fly.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
The people in this room, which one is A, wearing a spangly outfit, and B, not of use?
There's only one God, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
That man has no limits.
DM'd Ezra Miller. I'm not sure how he responded, but he did. And basically they're saying that...
Why when I DM these crazy celebrities, they don't ever talk to me?
I don't know. Maybe they knew him. Or
Ryan Johnson's never responded.
But, but they said basically that a bunch of people are worried that The Flash is going to erase the Snyderverse, I guess. And he said there's nothing to worry about, that no force in the Megaverse could ever erase Zack's amazing works. So
he's right. So
it's true.
All right, BB Nate, let's do it.
Yes, let's do it. So I am going to give you kind of what Superman and Lois is about. Superman and Lois stars Tyler Hoechlin.
Hey, you got it right.
Got it. And Elizabeth Tulloch as the world's most famous superhero and comic books most famous journalist, as they deal with all the stress, pressures, and complexities that come with being working parents in today's society. Now, that is a very vague and bland description of what this show. It is. But it is true. It does deal a lot with the stresses and everything and pressures of the parenting in what today is. And it also deals with how Superman deals with being a parent, being with a dad. And I love how they're showing that, but it also shows how Lois is having cases now as a journalist now when she moves to Smallville. And how everything ties in together with Superman and Lois. And honestly, when I saw this announced, I'm like, this is going to be a terrible show. But because I just didn't understand how Lois would play into it at all. But she plays into it a lot. Now, if you're wondering how you're going to be able to finish the first season within a week before it releases on Tuesday, the first season's runtime is actually only comes out to around 10 and a half hours with 15
only
episodes.
10 and a half.
Which is just good because
wait, you guys are going to watch like 14 hours
different.
tomorrow of
That's
Lord of the Rings.
12.
Way
Now,
different.
The Flash would actually come out to being about 20 hours
Right
for
now?
one season.
Oh, just one season.
Just for once, like the one we're on, say season 2. That would come out to be about 20 hours because it's 25 episodes, which is a lot more than what we see here. So, Dad, what was your favorite part of the show?
Wow,
that without spoiling it, just like the favorite aspect of the show, I guess is a good way of putting it.
Hard. Non-spoiler answer to that. I'm going to say it was probably the fact that I got to watch Clark be a dad. And so you've got
Dad Clark is the best.
Dad Clark is really, really good. And so you've got him also kind of flashing back to growing up and the burden of being a Superman or being Superman and the relationship between him and his mom. You don't really see a lot with his dad.
No, you don't really do.
With this, I'm hoping that we get that some more.
I do. Yeah, I think we will.
With it. But that idea of him being a dad and having to learn how to pass on his knowledge to his sons and having them learn what it's like to be a part of this family and growing up in Smallville and all of this. That was probably my favorite part.
Yeah, I really liked it.
What was yours, Sam?
Oh, man. I mean, it was just such rich storytelling. And you really believed the characters.
He hasn't watched a single episode.
I think he's watched a few minutes of it.
I've walked in and seen a little bit of like some action scenes and stuff. And from what little I've seen of things like The Flash, which again, I've only walked in and seen a little bit, the quality of Superman and Lois is well above things like The Flash.
Yes.
So there is that.
Like he was saying, this show is nothing like the other CW DC shows, or really any CW show for that matter. It has a shorter season length and a higher budget per episode because of that. It has a different feel than any other CW show. The tone is a lot more personal and more human, which is what DC is known for in their storytelling. Always has been. It really tells the stories of these characters. Some of the other CW DC shows have a certain charm to them, like The Flash. And some just fall a little flat, like Batwoman sometimes. This was one I thought was going to fall flat. Like I heard it announced and I honestly laughed. I was like, that's going to be another terrible DC CW show. But I was surprised more and more each episode when it started to come out. Now, Dad, what was one thing that surprised you about this show in the way it was presented or in the way that some of the characters were treated? You could even go with Jonathan and Jordan.
How it was presented. Okay, we're trying not to spoil this for all of you that
hard,
haven't had a chance to watch this yet. And Sam, we don't want to spoil it for you because you're going to watch it, right?
I would normally say that you couldn't see the shrug, but he shrugged.
He shrugged. I would say is it okay? I'm trying not to spoil.
Do y'all need to have a sidebar real quick?
No. There's characters that show up in this that there's a lot of twists with one specific character shows up at the opening episodes with it, and it's kind of a shocking revelation who this character is, and then there's things that happen with that character. This is so hard.
This is so vague.
There's a lot of things that happen with that character throughout
in
the
this
series.
show with a thing that happened at a place and at a time.
Exactly.
Sorry, it's so bad. So anyway,
but if you've seen the show,
and if you've you've watched this, you know what I'm talking about.
I really liked what they did with that character. It was very well done. I loved it.
Y'all kept the spoilers out of there because I have no idea what you're talking about.
I really loved what they did with Jonathan and Jordan. Honestly, when I first watched the first episode, Dad, you can attest to this. I was very angry that Jordan was even in this show.
Yeah.
Because he's never even mentioned in the comics. He doesn't exist. He's not a character. I was worried, and I'm like, okay, CW's just doing their thing again. They're just making up a character. But I came to really love the character of Jordan and the relationship between John and Jordan. And I loved the aspect of the brotherly things that they had to do with.
Well, and that's a cool element of this show too, because it does have this brothers connection that I think that you would really appreciate, Sam, is this relationship between Jonathan, it's Jonathan, right? Mm-hmm. Jonathan and Jordan, and them having to coming from it from very, very different perspectives. One's the jock, one's the introvert, one's the extrovert. One has kind of been the center of attention his entire life. The other one has sort of been in the background. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of those relationships there that are really, really interesting. And I think that that's what makes this is a very character driven show, much more so than, the only other CW show I have to base this on is The Flash. And The Flash is a fun show. We watch it.
It's a fun show. We make fun of it all the time.
The characters are not good. They're not great characters. There's
the only one I kind of like is Harrison Wells.
Yeah, depending on which version of Harrison Wells you're getting. But this one, the characters are all very strong, and there's a lot of different characters, and there's a lot of different conflicts, and that brother relationship is big.
So I have a question for you, Nate.
Okay.
Why do you think that CW or DC or whoever's in charge decided to make this better than the previous things, or do you think they did that on purpose?
I wouldn't call it better. The CW verse is loved.
Okay, but it is very different, and in some ways, people might consider it better produced or something to that extent. Why do you think they did that, or do you think they did that on purpose at all?
I think they did it on purpose because they understood we're getting a formula. There is a formula for The Flash. There is a formula for what the era was now that it's over.
Right.
And there was just a formula for every single CW DC show that felt like you watched one, you watched them all.
Like Hallmark.
Like Hallmark. It felt like Hallmark at some points.
Okay.
So there were a lot of times when it feels like it drags. Dad, you can attest to this. Season 2 of The Flash is dragging.
It is dragging.
And
it's ironic. The best season.
It is considered one of the best seasons. So it's very hard for CW to keep going this direction. I do think that it's very important that they did shorten this to 15 episodes and have a higher budget per episode. The action scenes are a lot better. The CGI
I can
is a lot
even attest
better.
From what I've seen.
It allows more actor-driven moments with the episodes. You think that in this case, they don't do the normal primetime TV show. You got to plot an episode.
It's not a procedural.
It's not a procedural show. You don't have an overarching plot that happens, but then something happens one episode. They fight the bad guy. The Flash gets knocked down. He finds a way to get faster. He beats the bad guy. That's every single episode of The Flash. In this one, you don't have a new bad guy each episode. You have one story throughout this whole season, and it works very well. And they transitioned it very well. At least in the last episode, they're going to transition it very well into a new storyline for season 2.
Absolutely.
I'm very excited.
I can, at least personally, I prefer shows that have kind of an overarching storyline, not a procedural show where it's one thing an episode. There's nothing wrong with the crime shows.
The bad guy of the week, we'd watch monster of the week, the criminal of the week.
Right. We watch crime shows a lot, like Psych and Monk and Blue Bloods and stuff. And every episode has its format and there's a case per episode, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that kind of show. But personally, I think like things like Daredevil, Mandalorian, all the new Cobra Kai, all the new Marvel shows on Disney. That kind of thing appeals to me more. So you even just mentioning that and saying that Superman and Lois is more of that style of show already has me more interested.
It's very procedural.
Not procedural.
No, not procedural. Right. Yes. But let's do some reviews. The first one comes from Collider. Okay. And they said, in some ways, the fact that Superman and Lois feels very different from the shows that have come before it is one of its strengths. And its inherent heartfelt sincerity brings with it a lot of promise it may be able to live up to.
Very nice.
Interesting. So very, very good one. And this one I just had to throw in for a little bit of a sentimental value.
Explain why.
It is from the Colorado Springs Gazette. Now, we, of course, lived in Colorado Springs for a long time.
Most of our lives.
For most of our lives. And it was a good review and short and sweet. It said, well crafted and with a cinematic feel, this series could be the catalyst to reignite the CW's superhero empire.
That's actually a really good description.
Yeah. It is.
Because it does make you think something very different than what you get from the other CW.
They saw how Superman and Lois did so well for CW, and then they announced this Gotham Knights show, and I'm wondering if they're going to be trying to do the same thing, make this non-procedural, shorter season, higher budget show,
or like what Marvel's doing,
like what Marvel's doing, and then what HBO Max is going to be doing with their DC show.
Very nice.
Well, next week I'm going to be doing a season 2 preview of Superman and Lois, so it will be full of spoilers. So
I have to catch up by then.
Exactly. Make sure.
So while you're dog sitting this week,
no, we got Lord of the Rings to watch.
Once that's over.
Yeah, once
I don't have that much extra time.
Make sure to binge season 1 before then, so you can join us on the quest of Superman navigating the life of being a dad and being the man of tomorrow.
Very good. You love DC.
I do.
You can just tell there's such an affection for that. That's very cool. Good job, BB Nate.
Good job, Nate.
Right. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Anything else?
Yeah. So BB Nate and I binged the first season of Daredevil recently.
We did.
It was really good.
It was fantastic. Sammy and I, I'm sure he will not be happy to admit this, but we were fangirling.
We totally
fangirling
were.
At the end of the episode. We were just like, "Oh my gosh, his suit is so cool!"
Yeah, no, we totally were. I'm not going to deny that.
Oh, it was such a good series. I can't wait to watch more.
Right.
Yes, but Zack Snyder released concept art for his Rebel Moon movie coming to Netflix, which was going to be a Star Wars movie. He pitched it to Lucasfilm. They turned him down. But I really
so he said, "Screw it, I'll make it. I'll make my own movie.
I'll make it." But I really liked the concept art.
It does look pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Really cool.
Star Wars author Delilah Dawson is ready to give Phasma the Boba Fett treatment.
Ooh.
Again.
Okay.
She's said that she has a story for Boba Fett to have, or for Phasma to have survived The Last Jedi. And
I mean, we said it after Last Jedi. We're like, there's no way she's dead. And they never brought her back.
So that'll be pretty cool. That's going to pretty much do it for this week. Friday's episode is Brian Godawa going to be talking about how worldview affects the way that we tell stories. And he's, we're going to talk a lot about Joseph Campbell and monomyth and that kind of stuff on that. You're going to want to tune that in. Thank you to cufflinks.com for sponsoring the show. We definitely appreciate that. It means the world to us. And thank you for listening to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast.
Yeah. Yes, if you had a good time listening, it would be awesome if you could share this with all of your friends.
Yeah. And of course, the show is only a small part of the Tatooine Sons world. In my mic. So be sure to like us on Facebook and join our Tatooine Sons discussion group on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter to get in on all the action and keep up to date on everything we got going on at TatooineSons.com.
Yeah, and don't forget to follow the show on the podcast app that you're listening to us on right now so you don't miss our next episode. Please give us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, since they allow you to do that finally, and podchaser.com. If you haven't done that yet, please do that, or whatever podcast app that you prefer. I think that's going to pretty much do it for this week. You guys, you
I was up till 4:00 last night. Okay. I was working on launch stuff. And so I didn't sleep a lot.
The life of a rocket scientist. All right. Anything else you guys would like to say?
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you always.
This party's over.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.
Join, please.